If you've been told you're a bad sleeper, this one's for you. Now, you may have not been able to sleep for several years, for several months, or maybe it's just more of a recent last few days or last few weeks. But you're probably going about it the wrong way, and here's why. Most people address it from a surface level. They don't actually get to the root cause. Now, the surface level could be taking pills to reduce the symptoms, or it could be having coffee to give yourself energy when you feel tired and you didn't sleep well. But it's not a lack of coffee while you're not being able to sleep or why you feel tired. And it's not a lack of sleeping pills or alcohol or some other supplement like melatonin of why you can't sleep well. What it actually is these symptoms that you're experiencing is usually a sign, a signal downstream that you actually have to look upstream. And why these symptoms downstream are manifesting in the first place is because there's something happening higher up on a root cause level that's causing these things downstream to manifest in the first place. Now, what can some of those things be? Well, for a lot of people, it's hidden stressors. And these hidden stressors can be gut parasites, they can be mold, they can be microplastics, their thyroid can be off, their brain neurotransmitters can be off. Maybe they have not sufficient serotonin because they have a gut parasite. So even though they're eating foods that contain tryptophan, such as turkey, we all know that example, that turns into serotonin through our gut bacteria. That serotonin then turns into melatonin, which is our master sleep hormone. And serotonin is our happiness brain neurotransmitter. And so from the foods we eat aren't being properly assimilated inside of our gut, we think we're not sleeping properly because of a lack of sleeping pills, or we take sleeping pills, or we just don't know what's going on. And it's very, very frustrating. But if we address the gut, or if you figure out, well, why are we not properly absorbing the nutrients and those cofactors to produce sufficient melatonin, which most of it is produced inside of our gut, by the way. It's not just our pineal gland inside of our brain. This is just one example on a brain neurotransmitter level, but there's hormones, there's micronutrients in our body, there is our genetics, and genetics is another example because if genetically we are hardwired, also known as our chronotype, it could be our sleep animal sign, depends on who you follow or what it is. But my favorite thing to do is to do a genetic test, because with a genetic test, we can actually figure out, are you a night person or a morning person, a night owl or a morning lark? If you're a morning lark, you should probably get to bed around 9 to 10 p.m. If you're a night owl, you could probably get to bed a couple hours later, and that is most aligned and in flow with your biology. But if you don't do that, and if you're not doing that now, then you're actually going against your biology. So if you're hardwired to be a morning person, but you're going to bed later, and you might swear you're a nighttime person because you've done it for so long, but I have some news for you that whatever we do for a long period of time, our bodies can adapt to. I work with so many people who have followed a nighttime routine, but we do a genetic test and we can see they're actually a morning person. They're hardwiring. So what does this mean? Well, we switch their schedule just behind them by a couple hours, and we'll slowly get there. Within a couple weeks, they completely change. Their energy improves, sleep improves. They're not waking up in the middle of the night. Now, genetics, again, another example, is just one part of the equation. And for some people, that might be 30% of the equation. For other people, it might be 80%. But maybe for gut parasites or someone's hormones are off, that is another massive part. I'll give you a hormonal example. When we wake up, within the first 90 minutes of waking up, as we wake up, our cortisol is rising. Within about 90 minutes of waking up, our cortisol within a 24-hour period is at its complete peak. And then it starts to go down throughout the day to where ideally, before we go to sleep, it's somewhere close to its lowest. Now, this is an ideal world. For a lot of people, it is not this. In fact, what it is for them is when they wake up, their cortisol is low and they don't have energy. So they don't have energy, they drink coffee, and that coffee feels good because it stimulates their cortisol to go up. But then what happens is they usually take that coffee, or they drink too many cups of coffee later into the day. And even without that coffee, later on before they go to sleep, their cortisol levels should be low, but they're actually elevated. Again, we can test this stuff, and that's why I know this, because I've seen it a lot of times. And when their cortisol levels are elevated before they go to sleep, or they are elevated while they're sleeping because they have a gut parasite, or in the middle of the night they have a cortisol surge because of excessive inflammation in their body, or they had too much blue light before bedtime and they don't have sufficient melatonin because of that blue light exposure. There are a myriad of reasons. I can think of over 12 just right now, but for the sake of simplicity, these things in the middle of the night on a hormonal level, even, I want to give you one more example, I'm jumping around here, but one is if our blood sugar spikes in the middle of the night, even though we don't eat dessert before we go to bedtime, and then the cortisol crashes, because if it goes up, it's going to come down. And when it goes down, in order to bring our blood sugar up, we need cortisol and we need adrenaline to bring that up. And this stresses out our body. And this is what's causing us to wake up in the middle of the night on a hormonal level. So there's all these different facets of how we can be waking up in the middle of the night and not be getting the best sleep. But here we are looking at surface level things and just trying to nullify our symptoms, when really we have to get to the root cause. And then when we get to the root cause, and think of it like weeds in a garden, once we remove the weeds and then we plant the seeds, then your body can truly start healing. And when it starts healing from a root cause level, then a lot of the time, not all the time, always check with your doctor, a lot of those symptoms I have noticed aren't manifesting in the first place because we've gone upstream, we've addressed where those root cause levels are. So here's what you need to do to first start. Audit every single one of your body systems and think, how can I get to the root cause of why I'm waking up in the middle of the night? Am I looking at a root cause, or am I getting to my symptoms and simply just masking it with pills or with surface level things where bad sleep symptoms just keep coming back and back and back again? So if you're looking to get to the root cause of where all this is actually coming for you, you can do it a couple different ways. You can get lab testing kits that are sent directly to your house. I do that. You can go through myself, you can go through somebody else. And you can take a urine, saliva, stool sample. The mailer will pick it up from your front door. It'll go to the lab, and then we'll get an entire blueprint, and we'll see on a hormonal level, genetically, micronutrients, parasites in your gut. If there's a leaky gut, your brain neurotransmitters. We can even assess your brain waves to a certain degree. There's also something I didn't touch on, which is the unconscious mind, where we have roughly 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. And a lot of those thoughts are spiking our cortisol and stressing us out, and we don't even know it. And while we're dreaming, we are also waking up in the middle of the night because of what had happened maybe when we were a child, or some micro or major traumatic experience that is stressing out our brain, and it's constantly heavy. There's a lot of mental parts that are consistent with this, and there's also biological parts. There's a spiritual part for purpose and everything else too. But if you look at it from all angles, instead of just looking at it from one narrow symptom source, and you start seeing the broader view, then you're going to start getting better a lot more quickly. So back to the lab test. You can do these lab tests to look actually at the root cause of where this is coming from. And for some people it's more hormonal, for some people it's more their gut, for some people it's more their brain. But once we see the full picture, and then we can track your sleep each and every night, then you start to see results. And not only do you feel better, and when we do questionnaires on you, your numbers are improving. But let's say we hook you up to like an Oura ring, and we see and monitor those numbers. Well, we'll start to see your deep sleep increasing, your REM sleep increasing in relation to the foods you ate that day, or in relation to what time you woke up or what time you went to bed. Because we're taking the hidden stressors out of your body each and every day while we're monitoring and seeing what's working best, individually tailored to you. It's not a cookie cutter solution. And a lot of cookie cutter solutions look at the symptoms, but if you look at the root cause, you personalize it to you, you're gonna get better a lot more quickly. So I invite you to do two things. One, start looking at the root cause. Think root cause, root cause, root cause. Where can that root cause be coming from? Number two, potentially look at lab testing for yourself to see where that is. You don't need it all the time, but if you want to go deeper, that is a fast and shortcut way to do it. But if you don't want to do that, you can simply start by removing high amounts of sugar in your diet, by going for walks, by doing saunas, by getting to bed at the same time, by not looking at your phone before you go to sleep. And if you're doing all those things and you're still not seeing results, well, then something deeper could be going on. But if you're not doing those things, well, maybe you want to try those first before doing the lab testing and going deeper to the root cause. But there's different layers of this, and as we're working ourselves up the pyramid, we do the lowest hanging fruit things first. How do we fix your bedroom environment? What do we do? Then we see, how do we optimize your current schedule for sleep and for energy, and areas throughout the day where you can have more energy, where you might not be doing your biology and genetics a favor right now because you're not planning your day around what your body actually needs to function. Maybe you are doing more heavy workloads in the afternoon when it should be in the morning, or vice versa. Maybe you're going to the gym in the morning when it should actually be in the afternoon. All these things like what I just talked about. So if you're interested in any of these, you can check out the links down below. There's free videos to watch, everything about the sleep consultant world, the superhuman world, and there is a lot to come. If you have any questions, shoot me a message. Besides that, I will talk to you very soon.